There is a massive ongoing debate happening in the Google Ads world, and it kind of splits advertisers basically into two camps. Those who swear by Google's smart bidding strategies like maximize conversions or maximize clicks, and those who live and die by manual bidding strategies like manual CPC. But with all the different options out there to choose from for bidding strategies, how are business owners like you supposed to know which one to use? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to choose the right bidding strategy for your Google Ads campaign. We'll go through the difference between smart bidding and manual bidding. Then we'll go through the most common bid strategies, what they actually do, and when to use them. And I'll give you my specific recommendation for which bidding strategy works best for lead generation businesses like yours, plus the exact timeline on when to switch strategies as your account starts to mature. So if you have ever been confused about what the different bid strategies mean and what they are, this video is going to make that crystal clear. So why do bidding strategies matter? The bidding strategy is going to direct Google on how to optimize the performance of your campaign. You're essentially telling Google what actions you want people to take on your ad. So if you use maximize clicks, then Google is going to go find you more people who are going to click on your ad based on their demographics and their habits online. So by choosing the wrong bidding strategy, you can really limit the performance of your account or use up your budget really quickly. Choosing the right one is vital to the success of your campaigns. Now let me explain the fundamental difference between Google's smart bidding strategies and the manual bidding strategies. The main difference is that with the smart bidding strategies, you are using Google's AI to help optimize the account. And this does sound really scary, giving more control of your ads to AI, but it's actually a good thing in this case. Things like increasing or decreasing bids based on which day of the week the ad performs better, what device the ads do better on, which keywords tend to do better. Google's AI is automatically adjusting all of that for you based on the performance of the account, and it has gotten really good at doing these micro adjustments. With manual bidding strategies, you're essentially doing all of those adjustments yourself. You're controlling the max cost per click for each keywords, and those bid adjustments, you're doing it all manually. So really, either one of the bidding strategies can work, and it all just comes down to how you manage the account on an ongoing basis. So let's jump into a screen share and I'll break down each of the smart bidding strategies for you. So when you're setting up your first campaign, you're prompted pretty early on to choose your bidding strategy. You can also change that bidding strategy once the campaign has started in the settings section. So that's where we are currently. So first up is maximize clicks. And as Google shows on the side here, that will allow you to get the most amount of clicks possible with your daily budget. So it helps to get data into the account to help start optimizing the campaigns. And you can set a max cost per click limit. So you can tell Google what limit you are willing to pay for a click. Now, if you set this too low right off the bat, then that will probably really limit the performance of your campaign. So if you are going to set a max cost per click, I would use the data that you can see in the keyword planner to get an idea of what the average CPC is for your keywords. But for example, if your average cost per click is $10 and you set a limit of $2, that is really going to limit the performance of the campaign, because Google probably just won't even show your ad the majority of the time because it just doesn't think that it can get you a click at that cost. So then the next one that you have here is maximize conversions. This tells Google's AI to get you as many conversions or leads as possible with your budget. So Google will essentially optimize the campaign for conversions. For example, if your campaign performs better on certain days or certain keywords perform better, instead of manually coming in and adjusting those bids and telling Google, okay, Mondays are really good for us, spend more of our budget on Mondays, Google's AI will automatically detect that and do it for you. Then if you go through your account day by day, you may see that one day Google spends above your daily limit. It can up to double your daily limit. But then on other days, on slower days, you'll notice that it underspends. So over the course of the month, it evens out. And that's the automatic optimizations working, where Google sees that you historically get more conversions on this day. We're going to use more of your budget on those days and less on your slower days. Just like with the clicks, you can also set a target cost per action. Again, if you set this really low, it can limit the performance of your campaign. If you have historical data, I would base the CPAs on that, or your target cost per action on that. If you don't, you can leave it open-ended until you get some data, or you can use the data that Google already has. But again, if your cost per acquisition is for your industry averages around $100 and you are bidding $20 for a conversion, Google just is not going to show your ad because it doesn't think it can get you a conversion for $20. So then the next one we have is maximize conversion value. This is more for e-com, where you know the value of each conversion or sale that comes through. It's harder to know the exact sale number with lead gen unless you're feeding your sale back into Google through a CRM or something. But generally, not every person who contacts you is going to be a sale or give you money. And for the most part, for majority of service-based businesses, the cost for a service can vary depending on the situation. So it's harder to know that cost per conversion value unless you're feeding everything back in. And in order to do that, you'd need a CRM that connects with Google Ads like HubSpot or Salesforce. So if you are a lead gen business, I wouldn't necessarily go with this one, but it is essentially the same as maximize conversions, but instead of going for a number of conversions, it is optimizing for the sale value of those leads. Then the next one is target impression share. And this one, honestly, I don't think I've ever used this one, but it's good if you want to make sure that your ad is showing all the time on certain searches, like your brand name. So you can essentially tell Google what position on the page you want to show up on and how often. So do you want to be at the top of the results or the absolute top of results, which means spot number one? Top results means you're in that top 3 or 4 of the ads that are showing just at the very top of the page. And then what percentage of time or impression share you want to get. So that's usually going to be around like 90 to 100% if you want to show up all the time. What Google will then do is automatically set your bids to increase your chances of showing up that amount of time in the auctions. That being said, this type of strategy is expensive, but if you have a very healthy budget and just want to make sure that your ad is always at the top, this could be an option, but I generally don't use it or recommend it for my clients since I generally work with businesses who just can't burn through thousands of dollars a month on Google Ads. And then the last one you see here is manual CPC. So manual CPC used to be the go-to bidding strategy. And with this one, like I said, you can essentially manually set a certain bid for each keyword that you're bidding on. And you can manually adjust the percentage of those bids on certain keywords depending on their performance. Whereas with something like Maximize Conversions, Google is using its data that it has on people and historical data in your account to basically do that for you. So there are some instances where this is still useful. Usually it's when you're trying to diagnose an issue in an account that it can become useful. But for the most part, this type of strategy is a little bit more outdated in my opinion. I should also mention that there is something called enhanced CPC, which can be a hybrid option that some advertisers overlook. And it basically bridges the manual and smart bidding by letting you set manual bids, but then allowing Google to adjust them up and down based on the likelihood of a conversion. So what bidding strategy should you use? This kind of depends on where you are in your Google Ads journey, but I personally like to use smart bidding strategies. Google knows a lot about their users and how they search, and a lot more than what is shown in the account or what I can know. So I like to leverage that to get better results with the campaigns. If you are a brand new account that doesn't really have any historical data in it, what I normally would do is start with a maximize clicks bidding strategy. The goal here is just to get as much data into the account as possible, get people clicking on your ad. You will still get conversions using this bidding strategy. And so then typically once that account gets around 30 conversions, usually within a span of a month, then I will switch it over to maximize conversions. The reason I do this is that now that the account has data and has begun optimizing, now we're going to tell it to start optimizing for conversions. So after the first 2 weeks or so of making that switch, you should start to see your cost per lead come down. If you have a seasoned account that has been running ads for a while and has data in there, then I usually start with maximize conversions right off the bat, but that kind of depends on how good the historical data is as well. So now that you know exactly which bidding strategy to choose and when to use it, knowing your bidding strategy is crucial, but it's just one piece of setting up a high converting Google Ads campaign from scratch. You still need to know how to structure your campaigns, choose your keywords, and write ads that will actually convert. And that's exactly why I created a complete step-by-step tutorial that walks you through building a Google Ads campaign right from the ground up, including where and how to implement the bidding strategies that we just talked about. So if you're ready to put this bidding strategy knowledge into action and build a campaign that actually generates leads for your business, click this video here to watch my complete Google Ads setup tutorial next, and I'll see you over there.